And thank you all for joining us today from as far afield as we have seen. It's lovely to have you all. So just very quickly by way of introduction, I'm Emer and I work in the College of Arts and Humanities with Paul. Myself and Roisin have organised the events for today, and that's why we're here. We're here to hear your questions. We're here to hear from you. And just by way of introduction, before I hand over, Paul is going to be the anchor today in this talk. He's going to tell you all about how to study creative writing at UCD, what it's like, and also about the fantastic creative writing community that we have here. He'll give you an overview of all things creative writing, and then we're going to bring in Jamel White and Rebecca to give you a little sense of what it's like to be a student and what it's like to study creative writing at UCD and what the opportunities are. So that's it in a nutshell. Please send us in your questions. We'll take some of them as we go through, but we'll probably do the majority of them at the end, if that's okay. So thank you. We look forward to hearing from you and to having a Q&A at the end. And without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Paul Perry.
Great. Thanks so much, Emer. And welcome, everyone. It's fantastic to see so many people logged on for this session about creative writing at UCD. My name is Paul Perry, and I've been working at UCD for over 10 years now in the School of English. And just to give you a little bit of context about how creative writing has grown as a subject and as an academic discipline in the School of English and in the College of Arts and Humanities, we started an MA program about 12 years plus ago, and we had tremendous amount of success with it. Many of our graduates were going on to publish their own novels, collections of poetry, to have their plays produced and dramatized. So over the years, we put our heads together and decided to develop an undergraduate pathway, a 4-year BA in humanities with English and creative writing. And we're already 2 years into that degree program. Our third year class will be starting their third year in September. So it's been a very exciting journey. And I suppose a lot of you will know that even before the start of creative writing as an academic discipline in the institution, in UCD, we have had great writers come out of the campus, from James Joyce to Emma O'Donoghue to Maeve Binchy, to a whole host of writers. Flann O'Brien, one of my favorites, who was a legendary member of the debating society here back in the day. But we've got to the stage now where we have this 4-year degree. It's quite a popular degree, and it comes in under the code DN 530. So what I might do is just to outline the 4 years for you, and then talk about our community of creative practice, the other writers that are associated with the writing program, and I might share some screens with you on that, if I may. And then I'll be happy to take your questions. I'll bring Jamel and Rebecca in to answer some questions and to give their experience as well, because, you know, it's one thing me telling you as you know, as a staff member, what what it's like as a staff member. It's very, very different, obviously, as a student. So let me see. Can I just, Roisin, can you see that slide that I'm sharing at the moment? Give me a thumbs up if you can see that slide. I think it's on the way. You can. Yeah. Great. So welcome to the UCD Arts and Humanities. The humanities code, if you were interested in studying English or English with creative writing, would be DN 530. Now, English with creative writing, it's a 4-year degree. So let me try and answer why you might consider creative writing, why UCD, and who teaches on this course. I think one of the most exciting things about creative writing at UCD are not just the students that we have from around the world, but also who teaches on this course. We're very proud of our staff who are, they're not just interested in creative writing as an academic discipline or the pedagogic approaches to creative writing, but they are practitioners first and foremost themselves. So if you come to UCD, you will be taught by the likes of, well, myself, and I am a poet and a fiction writer, but you'll also be taught by prize-winning authors like Anne Enright, a Booker Prize winner. Gavin Corbett is a novelist. Paula McGrath is a novelist. Declan Hughes is a fantastic dramatist and novelist. We also have a wonderful community on the MA and PhD programs who contribute to the teaching of creative writing. So my own research, my own path to becoming a facilitator or a professor of creative writing was to study the writer Amy Clampitt. And when I was studying her, she's an American poet, she asked herself this question: what does a writer need to know? And in a collection of essays, she answered this question, and she answered it with the title of that collection of essays, which was Predecessors or Predecessors. And what does that mean? That really means the writers who have come before you. So that when you come to study English with creative writing, a large part of your course will be the actual study of other writers. Okay, we put a great deal of value on the careful study of writers. Now, there's an interesting debate going on in the academy about what constitutes a canon and whether we should be reading canonical authors or whether we should be decolonizing the curriculum. And that's a really interesting debate, and it's a debate that you will be part of when you come to UCD. So let me just outline the 4 years. What do they look like? In the first year, you'll be looking at literature courses. You'll be looking at contemporary Irish literature. You'll be looking at how to read poetry. We've got new courses in world literature, and literature in crisis, I believe, will be a course that will be taught in September. But then you'll also have your core creative writing modules in first year. And we consider these first year creative writing modules as foundational. So we go through a lot of the rudiments and the codes and conventions of creative writing. And if you're a fiction writer, that might mean characterization, setting, dialogue, place. If you're a poet, it might mean the formal elements of the sonnet, the sestina, the villanelle, the line itself as a unit of poetry. And then in second year, we specialize a little bit more. We look at kind of smaller group work. Our workshops are between the size of 12 and 16, so that by the time you get to second year, you're working in smaller groups. You're starting to think about what your specialism is. We also put together a focus group, which Emer led, and our first years came to us and said, we'd like more optionality at second year. So we developed new modules in, say, writing for YA, writing for children. But we also have, writing poetry, writing fiction. And then your choices increase. You could be studying Renaissance literature, critical theory, modern American literature. So it's quite a global view we have. We don't take a chronological view when it comes to the study of English literature. Maybe 20 or 30 years ago, you started with Old English, you went through Chaucer, and by the time you made it to your third or fourth year, you were lucky to read a contemporary novel or a short story. We've kind of changed that now. So you're reading contemporary literature from your very first year. I think the third year is quite an exciting year, and Jamel will be able to talk about this a little bit later as he looks forward to third year. Third year becomes more specialized. You can be reading Ulysses. I think that particularly, if you're studying at UCD in Dublin, we're very interested in the footprint that literature in UCD makes in Dublin, which is a UNESCO city of literature after all. And there's a great tradition there in literary life if you like. And I think one thing that we have a partnership with, and one thing to look forward to when you come to UCD, is the Museum of Literature Ireland, which is right there on St. Stephen's Green. And if I get a chance, I'll talk more about that as a cultural institution. Some of the modules we've been developing for year 3 include literary editorship. And this is a kind of a practicum, if you like, module, which gives you, the student of creative writing, some practical experience working on a literary journal. And that is something that's new to the program. Third years will also be able to avail of vocational opportunities, if you like, to take internships. And I know Jamel will be taking an internship this autumn, and he'll talk about that. But we're also trying to place students we're trying to place them in kind of literary institutions, whether that means publishing houses, whether that means literary agencies, or other cultural institutions. Some of you may know that the great Dublin Irish writer Roddy Doyle, famed for The Commitments, set up a writing centre for children called Fighting Words. And we've built up a relationship with Fighting Words, where as a third year you can work there and get experience teaching and facilitating creative writing yourselves. And then in fourth year, you'll be taking more advanced workshops, you'll be taking more advanced literature seminars, and you'll also be writing or working towards a dissertation. And that'll be the culmination of your 4 years work. That'll be a dissertation of short stories or poems, or maybe you've created a kind of a hybrid form for yourself, the essay. I read a recent, or reviewed a recent collection of essays described by the author as speculative criticism, which kind of intersects between the I suppose the disciplines of criticism and creativity. And that's something that we'd be interested in too, how, you know, your own creative writing is a research practice in itself. So they're the 4 years. We also have options outside of that. You know, I mean, creative writing is a very popular elective in UCD. And by elective, I mean it's one of those courses that students who may not be taking a degree in English with creative writing try to avail of as well, and they are very popular. But sometimes we've got in-program electives, and that means even if you're taking English with creative writing and you just want to take more creative writing, you have an option to do that too. So we have quite an expansive program here. One of the things which we encourage our students to do is to join the English and Literary Society, known locally on campus as LitSoc. And that's already into its 107th or 108th, I think, in September edition. And it's a wonderfully popular society on campus with over 400 members. I think this year they were trying to reach the 500 mark, and I think they may have. And what they do is they produce their own creative writing journal. They curate a series of monthly performances, and they have their own writers group. They invite writers in every month, and sometimes they collaborate with other societies. You know, if a writer has interests in both psychology and creative writing, they've done that before. And most recently, we had an author in, the author of the tattooist of Auschwitz, and the LitSoc brought that author in the autumn, and it was a wonderful event too. They've got open mics, they've got screenings, coffee mornings, and other kinds of collaborations. And I think it gives you a great experience. It also makes the 4 years, if you're a member for 4 years, a very sociable and social 4 years. You make new friends that way, and it's a great way of just exploring the city and the campus with like-minded people, if you like. That's AWP is something that we put on both at undergraduate and postgraduate level. We try to put on conferences and symposia on creative writing. and we have had some very successful, I suppose, events associated with that. So the future for undergraduate creative writing at UCD, we have a series of awards and prizes each year. We're placing creative writing tutors in the writing center. We're developing a creative writing journal, and we're seeking a kind of a greater identification with Dublin and UNESCO as a city of literature. Some of our graduates are well-known names in not just Irish literature, but in world literature. Emma Donoghue, who's now a Canadian resident and probably most famous for her novel and film Room, was a graduate of UCD, as was the really excellent playwright Conor McPherson and Sinead Gleeson. We've had filmmakers, we've had festival directors, and we've had writer and directors, we've had journalists, broadcasters, all who have come out of the College of Arts and Humanities at UCD. So in terms of employability or transferable skills, I personally, I'm very proud to say that a lot of our graduates have gone on to fulfill their ambitions and to find work and employment in all sorts of areas of life, not just limited to, say, creative writing or English literature or language studies, but a very broad range. So that gives you an idea of the 4 years. I might just stop sharing those slides now and maybe hand you over to Jamel and Rebecca, who can maybe talk about their experience as students of this degree pathway, and maybe kind of highlight some of the things that I've either omitted to mention or some of the things that I'm not privy to or neither need to be, but just student life, I suppose, in general. We have an amazing student centre here, and Jamel, I know that you've enjoyed your 2 years and are looking forward to an internship in September. So could I bring you in now?
Absolutely, Paul. How you doing?
Great, good to see you.
Yeah, so I'm Jamel. I'm in just after finishing my 2nd year here in English for creative writing. And I'm going on now in September to do the academic internship as part of the course. And I'll be doing that in the National University of Ireland's head office. I think there's an alarm going off on top of my wardrobe. I hope nobody can hear that. So that would be overseeing the publications part aspect of the NUI being the governing body, the forum that links a lot of the universities in Ireland. The course, you might have seen from the 1st year, it's a nice kind of even split between the English and the creative writing side. But when you come into 2nd year, a whole host of options will open up and you'll actually be kind of able to cater to your interests and your abilities. So I took on a majority creative writing modules. I did poetry, YA, fiction, and then the core creative writing module. There was a lot of writing throughout the year, but it was absolutely fantastic in being able to move forward, being able to develop my writing. It is an extremely social course in a way that it's in a quite intimate way. A lot of your classes won't be in massive lecture theatres. You will be weekly in tutorials with small groups of 10 to 16 people, and you will get to know those people and you will get to know those people's work. It is not a situation that you might be used to, or that you might find in other courses where you are kind of a passive participant. Being a passive participant is impossible because peer review, it takes the primary kind of focus of a lot of these workshops, which is great and extremely beneficial to your writing. You will be required to kind of share your work among the class and give feedback when asked and when necessary to other writers. So you'll be constantly exposed not only to the material that's being given to you by your tutors, who also, I must mention, a fantastic range of tutors there and some fantastic writers there in and of itself, but you'll be exposed to work that they are presenting you, but you'll be exposed to work from your peers as well, and you'll see a range of different styles, preferences. So it's great. You'll become a much more well-rounded person in how you approach writing, how you think about what you're writing, and how you go about reading. You will learn to read as a writer, at the same time also learning to read critically in your English modules. So you'll have that kind of split there. You'll have these kind of two skills that you're developing. And the way you read will probably never be the same after. And that is for the better, I believe. So I think this is a Q&A situation as well. So I'm happy to answer absolutely anything that comes through. I hope I haven't spoke too fast. I can go back over anything I say. I tend to kind of run off when I speak.
No, that was great, Jamel. Thanks a lot. And Rebecca, you're taking a slightly different pathway.
Yeah, so I joined for a joint BA degree with English and Information Social Computing back in 2016, and I've now officially finished my degree. I just submitted my last short story for my undergrad. And the reason why I did a split degree was that I was a little bit unsure as to if I wanted to do pure English, because I wanted to kind of see, you know, what else was there opportunities. But the great thing about the English department is that a lot of the modules that are offered are so diverse. So Paula McGrath is one of your lecturers. I actually had her for the short story module for my final year, and I absolutely fell in love with the module. It's amazing because like Jamel was saying, you're in a small like social environment kind of thing. You're sharing with people your short stories, getting back opinions, and you're exposing yourself to so many different authors and different styles, and you're really kind of like adapting your skills, and it's absolutely amazing. And one of the great things I love just about the Department of English though is that, you know, there is so many people that you can go and talk to if you want to, you know, learn a different skill, if you want to try a different module. There's so many opportunities to pick up new skills, do new courses, try new styles, and it's just so broad. My little advice that I would say to students is really, whatever you want to do, definitely put that first on your CAO though, and that way, you know, you're doing what you love first, and when you get into the School of English though, you can pick and choose all the different styles that you want, whether you want to go pure creative writing or if you want to go into a more analytical approach with it. And you're exposing yourself to so many different varieties of stories and writers, and you're surrounded by lecturers who have gone through this and who are, you know, giving you all of these skills that you can adapt into your own writing. And the other thing is just to make sure that you enjoy the process throughout, because that's the most important thing when you're there.
Thanks, Rebecca. I mean, just to pick up on one point that you made, which would be how the two disciplines complement each other, so that, you know, when you read English literature, you read to, I suppose the analytical is the word that you used. And I suppose you're in the realm or the domain of meaning and interpretation. You know, what does a text mean? What signification does it have? Whereas in creative writing, very much we're looking at how is something made. So I think one interesting thing for our first years to learn is to kind of shift their way of reading. So we're reading as writers. We're seeing how things are made rather than what they mean. And I think that's an interesting distinction that we make. And, you know, it's something that, you know, takes a little bit of time so that, you know, by the time you're into second and third year, our creative writers are actually looking at texts in a very different way than, say, you know, straight scholars or critics. We're kind of looking at how something is made and how we can put it together ourselves as makers. That being said, they do complement each other, those two approaches.
Can I come in there with a couple of questions that we're getting from
Please.
our participants? So first of all, hello to Dinah, who's come in with how many hours a week are classes and how often do you write essays? Paul, could you take that?
Sure, yeah. I might need the help of Rebecca and Jamel here. I mean, in terms of the structure of our courses, our students in first year take 30 credits in the first semester and 30 credits in the second semester. And in first year, those credits are made up of 5 credit modules. So you'd be taking 6 modules in your autumn semester and 6 modules in your spring semester. And I would say the reading load is considerable. and that it probably takes a little bit of getting used to. And those 5 credit modules are made up of either 1 or 2 hour blocks across the week. Would you add to that, Rebecca?
Yeah, so definitely. And the one thing I would say though is that in your first year, the amount of reading that you get, like it does look quite daunting at the beginning, but if you take it little by little, you do start to get used to the build up. The other thing as well is that you'll be it'll be split between like what type of assignments that you'll get throughout the year. You may get like every week you have to write 300 words kind of thing, just to get your practice. You could also have like a midterm, which is a type of paper, and then your end of year. But if you just kind of like go little by little, it's not as bad as you think, and you just make sure that you're kind of pacing yourself throughout. It just makes it a bit easier, especially because you'll get into a good habit.
And thanks, Rebecca. And in creative writing, what we normally rely on is something that we call formative feedback. So that means if you're a creative writing student, you're getting feedback throughout the semester, so that by the time you submit a portfolio, that's what we call your summative feedback or your summative assessment. It shouldn't be a great surprise to yourself or to us who are grading you, because you've been getting feedback throughout the year. So in creative writing, we don't have exams. We do write essays, but they're critical reflections, if you like. They're self-reflexive commentaries on your own creative work. And I suppose we learn how to do that in the first year, and we develop that over the years. But the main focus of your creative work is creative. And then there might be a small, what we call supplementary discourse. So you're reflecting on, okay, I wrote a series of poems, or I wrote this short story, but what was I thinking when I wrote this short story? Or how did I use my tutor or my peers' comments, my other classmates' comments? How did I use their comments in revising the story for the final assessment? And that's something we're very interested in. In other words, the process, the process of writing, reflecting about the different drafts that a piece of writing can go through. So in terms of secondary level education, I suppose you'd call that continuous assessment. So it is an ongoing thing, as Rebecca said. Emer, do you have any more questions?
So I have another one here. So if I don't take the BA Humanities course, English with Creative Writing, is there an opportunity for me to do some creative writing modules in the other courses?
Yeah, so I would be an example of that, where I did English with Information Social Computing. So in your first year, you have set modules though, which is like your literature and context, where you're studying a broad range. But in your second and third year, you get to pick and choose the type of modules that you want from the different categories. So for me, I had the opportunity to study Irish women's writing and short story modules, which basically meant that I would actually be doing a mix of creating work as well as reading. So when I did the English degree, I didn't know if I wanted to do pure creative or pure analytical. So this gave me a really good balance to kind of pick and choose what I wanted to do, so that it wasn't purely just, if you have to create a certain type, though, it just gave me a little bit more flexibility kind of thing. And if you're not 100% sure if, pure creative writing would be something that you'd love to do though, but you really get a good stab at, I think that might be a good option for you then.
Also, on the reverse of that, there's opportunities to dip your toes into other areas as well. Just because you might not be in a course, you might not want to do an entire course in one area, but you might still be interested in that area, and you might like to still get some experience or some knowledge from that area. And that's where the elective system comes into place. So as Rebecca was saying, she was able to do creative writing modules despite not being in the creative writing course. I was able to pick up a music module. It was contemporary music. It was popular music and culture from the beginning of the rock and roll era right up to contemporary times, and it was an absolute blast. I absolutely loved it, but nothing to do with my course, and it was great to be able to pick it up. In my first year, I did an introduction to English language teaching, with the Applied Language Centre in UCD, which was also fantastic. It gave me a little bit of classroom experience in teaching English as a foreign language. The Applied Language Centre also offers opportunities to start languages. So, I mean, you could be doing English and creative writing, and you could be learning conversational Spanish for a semester on the side, and you could continue that into your second semester if you want, and you could, you know, be able to ask for directions in Spanish by the end of the semester or more, you know.
I think this just also highlights as well that UCD has such a variety of subjects that you can pick throughout, though, that even if you are just doing one type of degree, though, that you can pick and choose from anything. Like, one of my favorites was studying comics and fantasy novels as an elective, though, which I never thought I would say as part of my degree, but definitely absolutely loved it. It was a good bit of fun, though. So there's a lot of opportunities, though, so you can pick and choose your heart's delight with that.
That's a very good point to raise, and we're going to put a copy of our brochure in the chat just so you can peruse the range of subjects that you can study and really get under the skin of the different type of modules that you can explore through your studies at UCD in the College of Arts and Humanities. I have a question from Jamel. Can you tell people a little bit more about outside of the classroom? Are there other ways to get involved with creative writing?
Absolutely. So as Paul was mentioning, the LitSoc at the English and Literary Society, they run weekly events. So in my first year, I was every Wednesday attending Writer's Block, which was an opportunity to kind of get together with a group of people. Whoever's participating usually offers workshop prompts, and everybody kind of speed writes whatever they can. And opportunities to kind of share that in this kind of circle situation, to share what you've written and receive feedback on it. And it's a fantastic way to meet people straight away, because you're immediately in a situation, it might be your first or second week of college, but you're immediately in a situation where there's a common interest, but also you're contributing your voice into a circle. So conversation is the aim of the game there. You're guaranteed to walk out of that talking to people. But there's also other societies on campus that I know many people in my course love to be involved in. The Drama Society, of course, if you're in any way interested in writing plays, that's the place to go. A lot of people who like to write are also interested in a lot of other performative arts. So we have a lot of actors that go in, and the plays that the Drama Society put on are absolutely fantastic. We have a full theatre on campus, and it's an absolute joy to be able to go and see a play in your downtime in the afternoon, finish up your classes and go see either a student written play or a student adaptation of a more popular play. There's also Belfield FM. I this year had my own radio show with two other co-hosts, and we kind of ran it as a satirical literary podcast. It was an absolute disaster, but we loved every second of it. But what we were doing there was actually taking the work, in between joking, we were taking the work we were doing in classes, because my friends, they were in the creative writing elective. So we were taking our classwork, bringing it onto the air and sharing it with each other and maybe the 4 or 5 people who were listening to us live. But we also recorded this, and we're planning to put them up on SoundCloud as well. So it's just other ways to kind of integrate your college work and your interests into and inject it into kind of the social life that UCD offers you.
That's great. Thank you, Jamal. That's really useful. What about you, Rebecca? Is there anything you'd like to share with the group about your student experience?
Well, the one thing I'll definitely say about DramSoc, in my second year, I was in the DramSoc Canto, and that was the most fun that I had. It is absolutely ridiculous. The other thing I would say, though, I've been part of the student union for the last 2 years, and the student union essentially helps, you know, bring up any problems that are on campus or just in student life and how to fix and adapt it. One of the points I would say, though, is just make sure you kind of look at their social medias and stuff and give them a follow, because they'll post up different events and stuff like that. You can just pop over, say hi. The coffee mornings are amazing. I think probably like my best friends I've made from these different societies. I've now been friends with them for the last 4 years now, though, and it's been unreal. The one thing I would say is just make sure you always get that balance between, you know, the college work and your social life, because you can't have one without the other. And when you join these different societies and clubs, like I was in trampolining for about 2.5 years, and it was something that I never thought I'd do, but I've now learned how to do a backflip, which is pretty cool, I have to say. But honestly, like, just having that bit of balance and just making sure you enjoy the process when you're doing it, though, it just gives a really good experience. And I know with everything that's going on though, it might not be the same as for me, as it would be for you guys when you come in though, but just make sure that, you know, you're going to be doing a course that you love. You're going to be meeting amazing people from, you know, different places in Ireland and from different places of the world, and everyone's going to have their own different experiences and stuff. And this is a place and a subject that you can all come together and just really kind of learn off each other. And this is going to be a unique and exciting way to do it as well.
Thank you, Rebecca. Can I ask both of you, just in terms of imagining you were in 5th or 6th year now, or indeed 4th year, what advice would you give to everyone who's gathered, who's considering their opportunities in university? I'll ask you, Jamel, first, and then maybe Rebecca, if you could come in after.
Absolutely follow what you want to do. I can't stress that enough. Opportunities will come from you doing what you want to do. Don't be too worried about the kind of, I mean, if you're interested in going into a vocational degree because you want to be a doctor, well, then go ahead and do that. But if you want to be a writer, you want to write, and you want to be in an environment where you get to write every day, absolutely do that, because the skills you develop in the course will come out naturally, because you'll be in an environment where you will flourish and you will feel confident, and you will be able to kind of move forward and meet people, and opportunities will arise. We've already mentioned the internship part of this program. I mean, that's going to open up new doorways and new avenues and introduce you to things you would never have expected. I myself have been jumping around for a while before I landed in this course. I was in a PLC in creative writing, and then went into Maynooth for a while to study media studies with that kind of career focus, and I wasn't loving it. And when this course came about, and I seen this course advertised, it was the first year, so obviously there was no way of me having joined it before. I decided to leave Maynooth and come to this, and I haven't looked back since. So absolutely follow what you want to do, 100%.
Yeah, and then just from my side though is just what I would say though, because I was actually sitting here in my end of 5th year, the way that you guys are doing it. Well, I was in the UCD building though at this point. I was sitting here listening to past students and current students talk about the English degree though, and they were kind of one of the reasons why I did it, because I could just see the passion. Is just, again, to reiterate though, just follow what you want to do. And my other big point as well would be, when it comes to, like, if you guys are, you know, struggling in any little bit of aspect though, whether it be, you know, with, like, say you're writing, you need a little bit of help, or you just want someone to chat to, you have people from your class reps that you have from the student union in your module, to your student advisors, to the wonderful lecturers who see you, you know, for those 2 or 3 hours kind of thing. They are there to help you and to make sure that you guys are, you know, getting the best experience out of your degree though. So the sooner you go and ask for help, the better it is. And just to have fun. Like, you're only really in college for 3 or 4 years, depending on the length of your degree, and you should enjoy every minute of it though. So join as many clubs and societies as you can, experience all the different things that you can get out of this degree and out of the UCD campus. It is like a giant family when you're there. You meet people from all these different walks of life, and you get to experience things that you never thought you could do before, from volunteering overseas to bouncing on a trampoline to being part of the student union. There's a lot of different things that you get to do. So just try absolutely everything, and just remember to look after yourselves and to enjoy every step of it.
Thank you, Rebecca. That's really insightful. Paul, a couple of questions for you, if I may. People asking, do I need a portfolio to take part in this course? And do I have to come as a fairly well-developed writer, or do you take people at any level?
No, you don't need a portfolio. That's not a requirement for admission onto the course. And the second question was, do you need to be experienced?
Yes.
No, I think, you know, I think a lot of students have been exposed to creative writing practice at second level. You know, they have tried their hand at writing a short story and a poem. And I suppose what we're looking for is exactly as Rebecca and Jamel have expressed. We're looking for that passion, that desire, you know, that real that want and need to express oneself. And we're you know, and it is a developmental course. So we're not expecting students to be the finished product when they come in, not at all. We're expecting students to come in knowing a little bit, and we're hoping to direct them, to facilitate them. And I think, you know, one of the things that I'm really heartened by hearing Jamel and Rebecca is that sense of community. And I feel that actually in the classroom as well, is that we learn from one another. It's not, I suppose the arts and humanities and creative writing in particular has a different kind of model of education or pedagogic practice than other disciplines in the universe, or the university, the universe, the cosmos, whatever you like. In that it's not, you don't have necessarily a teacher at the head of the classroom who's telling you what they know. This is what I know, and this is what I want you to learn. So there's not exclusively that direct knowledge transfer. What we understand is that we're creating a community of practice, and that we learn from one another. You know, I've published half a dozen novels, half a dozen collections of poems. I've written criticism, and I still feel from one week to the next that I'm learning from the students and that we're learning from each other. So no, you do not need to be the finished product. You don't even need to be experienced. But by the time that you do get to your third and fourth year, we do expect you to be able to demonstrate a degree of expertise, so that if you go on to further study at a master's level, that you are working at a professional master's level, or that you're able to, or that if you enter the workplace and you take a job, that you're bringing a whole host of skills and expertise, and that you can write better than some of your contemporaries, better than many of your contemporaries. And I was recently, this is just by the by, I was recently at an internship committee meeting where it was put to me by somebody in a different discipline that our graduates in English, in creative writing, in arts and humanities are attractive candidates for industries outside of our own field, so that, you know, the business and financial sectors are looking for so-called creatives. They're looking for people who can write a sentence, a paragraph, a memo, an essay, a letter, and they're looking for those people who can express that with some skill, expertise, and some flair. And I think a course like this is going to give you that.
That's great. That's very useful. Another question that's coming in from a few is around study abroad and internships. So just to clarify, on the BA Humanities, which is DN 530 on the CAO, for those of you who asked, in your third year, like Jamel mentioned, and Paul as well, you can take a semester internship, an academic internship in a related industry. And you can also, in the other semester, study abroad if you wish. We have partnerships with universities in 40 different countries. So you can take a study abroad semester as part of your third year. So I hope that answers those questions. A lot of questions coming in about how long classes last and things like that. The majority, am I right, Paul, in thinking it's about 50 minutes?
Yeah, Jamel, did you have a point about study abroad or internship
Yeah,
before I mention that?
Sorry. Yeah, the way it was this year is that you can do study abroad in place of the internship. You can do it with the internship if you're so inclined. You could do the internship in the first semester and study abroad in the second, or you have the option of doing an entire year study abroad. So it's very flexible, and it really caters to what you want out of the course. If you don't want to do an internship or study abroad, you could opt for an entire academic year. Well, that's what's been in place. Yeah. Going for me. I mean, if things change, but for now, that's how it is anyway.
Yeah, and we have partnerships. There's two organizations that we have close links with: the European Association of Creative Writing Programs and the Associated Writing Programs, which is based in the US, which is more of a global organization. So we're in regular contact with writing programs around the world, so that if somebody has a specialism, in, I don't know, hybrid text or digital text or something called cave writing, computer automated virtual environments, we can suggest and recommend the partner institutions that might be a good place for them to go in their third years.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for those clarifications from everybody. We're coming close to the hour. Does anyone have any final comments they'd like to make? Any further thoughts from anybody before we close out this summer school?
Jamel, did you?
Oh, I was wondering if that was directed at the panelists or the.
That's directed at you,
absolutely. Let's all say a few closing words then. Rebecca, do you want to go first, then Jamel, and then I'll say something?
Yeah, so guys, I've just, like, as I've said, I've just now finished my English degree, and I actually was sitting there crying at one point though, because I was just like, oh, I'm not going to be back there for the next year kind of thing. Because I was speaking to one of the English colleagues, and I wanted to go straight into a master's, but I decided basically to take the year to do my writing, and hopefully to go back, and there may be a new master's that will be offered with like the business side to do publishing and creative writing kind of thing. And I've been speaking to a lot of publishing agencies and such, and hopefully might be able to kind of start working with them over the next couple of months. So there is a lot of diversity with this degree though. Just reiterating what I've said as my points is just to make sure that you guys enjoy yourselves while you're there. It's what you want and what you guys have chosen to do. And remember, it is all about just expressing yourself and enjoying yourself while you're there, and just to make sure that you know, you enjoy your time, and you know, you make this university experience all your own kind of thing. So hopefully everyone stays safe, and yeah.
Yeah, no matter whereabouts you are now, in proceeding from here on out, just relax and take your time and seek advice and seek information, but don't seek to be told what you should and shouldn't do. Think about what you want, do your research, and know that that you should go into something that you know that you're going to be able to sit and enjoy for the next 3 or 4 years, because that's everything, I think. And I think it's crucial to the experience, that you're doing something out here that you love, because what you will do to the best of your ability, it goes without saying that it's going to be something that you love, and that's where your real talents are going to come from. But yeah, things didn't work out for me for a long time until I really figured it out. So take your time. It's cool. There's really it's not as much of a rush as you think there is right now, or as people would have you believe right now. I came into UCD at the age of 21 in first year, and it was fine. I was very worried about that before, but I can tell you it was fine.
Thanks, Rebecca and Jamel. And I would just say, you know, finally, that as a staff member, as a writer who came to teach writing, that I love it here, and that it's a really exciting place. UCD campus, my colleagues, the students, and the city itself, the country itself. We're going through an extraordinary period. And I'm not talking about the pandemic, I'm talking about the actual writing that's coming out of Ireland. And to feel like that you're a part of that, and that you're in Dublin at a campus which is contributing to the literary life and the literary heritage, the living heritage that is Irish literature, is an extraordinary privilege. And I think if you have the chance or the opportunity to come and study with us, consider it seriously. You'd be very welcome.
That's great. Thank you, Paul. And thank you, Rebecca and Jamel. So great to have you with us today. On that positive note from Paul, we'll close out this session. Please do stay in touch. We'll be holding seminars and lectures about our subjects in November. Our open days will go ahead in November, be it virtually or in person. Do keep in touch, stay informed. You can contact us by email hello.artshumanities@ucd.ie. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, find out what we're doing, and stay in touch. We're here to help, we're here to answer your questions. So please do get in touch with us if you have any further questions. Once again, from Galway to Bangladesh and back, thank you so much for joining us. It's lovely to have you all here with us for all your questions, and continue to stay in touch with us. Stay safe and stay well. Thank you.